Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Giglio, principal of Homestead High School, and this is the weekly video message for September 10th. I have with me the guest star who I was supposed to have last week, but he was dealing with some emergencies, and so we have him here this week, though. But this is Mr. Brian Dong. Brian, you want to introduce yourself to
Hi,
everybody?
everybody. Thanks for having me, Greg. Again, I'm Brian Dahm, one of three assistant principals here at the school. My main responsibilities are activities, athletics, technology, AP testing. But this year, I've also assumed the position of the COVID site liaison. So that's why I'm here today.
Right, which, yeah, again, this is the reason why we wanted to bring Mr. Dong on, because there's been a lot of questions, which I've answered in the last several sets of videos. But, there's a lot of moving parts to dealing with COVID. And so wanted to just bring Mr. Dong on here to speak directly to it. So, Mr. Dong, what happens when a student is identified as positive? What does the school do to work with that family and the rest of the kids?
Yeah. So inevitably, I think we're all expecting that that's going to happen throughout the year. And unfortunately, it has happened here at the school. Thankfully, we have a dedicated team, including myself, to enact the county protocols under the direction of the district office under Trudy Gross. So if we come to find that a student is positive, and in most cases we are seeing PCR test result positives, depending on how it's reported, we essentially enact the county protocol, which includes contact tracing. So not only will I contact the family of the positive case, but I'll contact the student and kind of talk about the isolation period and what steps they need to take given if they are vaccinated or not. But then also the focus really turns to what happens here at school. And it's dependent on a lot of factors, but the main idea is this, the time of infectious period. That's sort of the namesake for it. And that depending on when we get test results or when the student was tested or when the student was showing symptoms, we backtrack essentially 48 hours. And depending on that 48-hour span, it could have been the weekend, it could have been 2 days of school. We look at all of the students' contacts, their classes, where they were at brunch and lunch, tutorial, whether they were at a sports team practice. And from there, we reach out. We reach out via email. And some parents may have already received emails in the past week or so that their student was considered a close contact. And they received really one of two emails. And one email they receive could have been because we have a fully vaxxed documentation on our school system. And so they receive an email explaining what happens for a close contact vaccinated student. The other email is for folks that we don't know their vax status. So in that email, it requires a response and a notification to us about whether that student is vaccinated or not, or what steps need to be taken if they are not. If we don't get any response for that email, sorry, Greg, if you don't get a response to that email, that's really where our job is, to jump in and to pull students and ask them directly. And we want to make sure we spend a lot of time and throughout the week checking in on those students to make sure that we have all of our kids crossed off of that list.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is that the question about who's vaccinated, who's unvaccinated, and how they have to quarantine is a question that kind of comes up too. So can you talk a little bit about what the process is for someone who's vaccinated, for someone who's not vaccinated, maybe even a little bit about testing?
Yeah. So the first step really is, if your student is vaccinated, you should have. It's really important that you report that to the school. Although it is right now considered optional, it's really helpful in that contact tracing process. So all parents and families received an IK-12 email from the district asking that you voluntarily solicit your vaccination status. And if you do so, then it's in our system so that when we contact trace students, it's easier to eliminate students that are already vaccinated, so we don't need to respond directly to them. But students that are vaccinated, if they are considered a close contact, even a close contact in their household, let's say their brother or sister is COVID positive, as long as that vaccinated student is not showing any symptoms, they are allowed to return to class without any restrictions. So there's no quarantine period for a fully vaccinated student. If a student is a close contact and they are unvaxxed, we ask that they go and get tested for that instance. So when we notify a close contact, we find out that they're unvaccinated, we require them, based on the county protocols, that they go and get a antigen rapid test. As long as that rapid test comes back negative, they can return to class without incidents and do not have to participate in any weekly testing. The scenario that might be common is that if you have an unvaxxed student and you have a positive in your household, then there is some quarantine processes that we have to go through because that student is unvaccinated, even though they may not be showing symptoms. And that's a sort of a case-by-case situation. And we find out that information, we contact their families directly.
And so, one of the things that also comes up is, what happens if my kid's not feeling well, or what if my kid starts to not feel well at school? What kind of happens then?
Yeah. So like any other school year, we always have kids that come to the office during the school day and saying they don't feel well. And so combined with that and some of the concerns about COVID, the school has taken really, I would say, pretty strict precautions on when kids are saying that they're not feeling well. So for instance, if a student comes to our office, they've been going to class and they say that they don't feel well, they have a stomach ache, they have a headache. Our protocol has been, for the safety of everyone, is to contact parents, have the students sit outside for a minute. I go out there, and since I am the COVID liaison, it's my responsibility to go and have sort of a short interview with that student. And although I'm not a doctor, nor can I do anything that relates to what a doctor might do, I do sort of make a judgment that we encourage the student to go home, and it's just for the safety because they are displaying some sort of symptoms. Depending on what the student tells me, oftentimes I will encourage them to consider getting a COVID test because it is free across the district. We can do it at any of our 5 sites given the specific day. And so we are erring on the side of caution that students should go home if they're not feeling well. If your student wakes up in the morning and they don't feel well, and they say, well, it's maybe just a headache, or maybe I just didn't sleep that well, we really encourage families to try to keep students home, and clearing their absence will be excused. Their teachers are required to give them makeup work without penalty. So don't feel like you can't keep your student home, especially during these times.
Great. So if anybody has questions or concerns or what, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to do that so that they can get their questions answered?
Well, you always can email me directly. My name is Brian Dong, and you can find my email in the school email. My phone number is also 408-522-2511. That's my direct phone number. I think it's best to try to reach out to me through email because oftentimes I'm not in my office because I'm, as like everyone else, running around to take care of certain things. But what's most important really is if you do receive an email about being a close contact and your student is a close contact to a confirmed positive case, it's important that you read the email and you respond to the questions that are in the email so that we can complete our contact tracing timely and quickly. So that's our first and foremost concern and response. So please, if you get an email that says that your student was a close contact, please read through it carefully and follow the directions there.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mr. Dong. Appreciate you taking your time. I'm going to let you go so that you can do some of those duties that you talk about where you're running around. So I'm going to continue on with my weekly video message, but thanks for being our guest star this week.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a nice day, everyone.
Take care. All right. So as Mr. Dong leaves, I'm going to pull up my weekly video message here. Let's put it in presentation mode. Presentation mode. There we go. So as I mentioned, today is Friday, September 10th. And we are going to be going through with our videos. Again, lots of responses here. So hopefully my videos can start getting a little bit shorter, but definitely have several questions and things to go through. So shout outs and recognitions, my favorite part, because it's always nice to give out nice words about people. And so this first one was for the French teachers, all 3 of them. So Madams Von Stein, Ron Scheimer, and Stanwood for being so awesome. And that was the quote, for being so awesome. Dean Maria Trejo got a second shout out in 2 weeks for her constant care and support of students. Tricia Goulet, my executive assistant, also got a shout out for keeping us informed and connected with her weekly email blasts. A general one, and again, there was several that had some general kudos for the teachers and staff, but this one was a really nice way of summarizing it. So I took this one, said Homestead teachers and staff for their continued support and flexibility as we navigate a new world of learning during an ongoing pandemic. And finally, for Mrs. Birdsong, or as the student here wrote, Birdsong Sensei, the Japanese teacher, seems to be loved by her students for being so nice and creating such a positive learning environment for her classroom. So thank you to all those folks who sent in the positive praise, and for those folks who earned the positive praise. Going to move into our questions or suggestions here now. This one has come up a little bit more recently about the skinny Wednesdays, on being, used to be Mondays were the skinny day, now Wednesdays are the skinny day. And some of the concerns that are popping up talk about more homework on Tuesday nights. So again, just so we can understand what we're talking about, when we say something skinny, it's a skinny day, we talk about all the classes meeting on Wednesday. They're shorter, they're 45 minutes long. And so what seems to be happening is that there are things that are due on that Wednesday. And so maybe the work is piling up a little bit. And so one of the things I think we need to kind of find out about this is the homework being assigned at various times. Was it being assigned the night before and the expectations that it's due on Wednesday? Was it assigned the prior Wednesday and they had a whole week to do it? If so, then maybe one of the problems is really about more procrastination and or not doing the work in a timely manner. So again, if you're given leeway to do, time leeway to do the work, please try and get your work done beforehand. If it's, something else, if we're looking at like, yeah, there is too much homework being put on those nights, that's something that we can take an internal look at. And I'll bring up at the department lead meeting, which is going to be happening here in a couple of weeks. But we are just starting to hear this from a few people. So again, I don't know if this is what the exact issue is, but that seems to be the concern that's coming up. One of the really good things about the Wednesdays, the skinny day, is that some teachers are using those Wednesdays, since they're shorter periods, to go and do some review or some filling of some gaps. So for instance, our geometry team is using the Wednesdays to go back and reteach and reinforce some algebrist concepts that maybe didn't get learned so well in the first semester. So they took some data, or the first year, I mean, and so last year because of the pandemic. And so, I'm hearing of teachers doing things like that. So it isn't always, just doing a shorter class. It might be doing some sort of creative intervention like that. One of the questions that did come up again was, why was Wednesday chosen? Why didn't it go to Monday? Why didn't it go to Friday? Friday's a horrible day to do a skinny day because skinny days are very hectic in terms of having all 7 classes meet. So that was probably, Fridays is a lower energy day in a lot of regards because people are tired. Monday used to be chosen, but we stuck with the Wednesday because it fit last year's remote schedule. If you remember last year we had, the 2 days of block schedules on Monday, Tuesday, then we had the asynchronous day on Wednesday, then we went to the other 2 days of block schedule. So if we do have to revert to remote at some point, I'm not saying we are, but I'm just saying if we ever do, we're able to bounce back into that schedule. So that's why the Wednesday was the more opportune looking day to do that. So again, I think there's probably good things and bad things about moving it to any of those days, but we need to maybe take a little bit deeper look into why Wednesday is creating some issues right now. So again, we'll take that up at the department lead meeting, like I said, in a couple of weeks. This question was, how can we get involved with the school or get more information about the school and our kids' classes? Well, you may have heard me talk about, but these are 3 really great areas that are parent groups. One is the district-wide foundation. That is something that does work across all 5 sites. So again, depending on the level in which you would like to get involved, the foundation handles things across the district. The Homestead PTSA is really about Homestead and works directly, and any money or time is given directly to Homestead. I'm happy to say that they have gotten a whole lot more members this year. I think about tripled the number, so that's great, but let's keep it going. Let's get more folks in there. That's really helpful to have a vibrant PTSA. Boosters is also another area because, specific activities like athletics or music or dance or cheer might have boosters that you can directly support those extracurricular activities that your students involved in. Information, again, the website's always a really great site. There's probably everything you ever need is on the website, but as you'll see, there's a question about that, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But that's a great place to look for information. The bulletin that is on our website is a really good place. If you look under the About Us, it's right there. The email blast that goes out every Friday, in which you get this video as well too, that is a really good place to find information because it's most up to date. And then again, this video I think is also a great place. If you're really looking for information about specific classes, you really do need to talk to your teachers about that, your students' teachers. You can be checking, Schoology or Infinite Campus. You can be, looking at their calendars on those places. So, if it's about the specific classes, that would need to be a conversation or an email or even just checking those resources. So that would be how to get involved or how to get more information. How do we inform the school that our children have been vaccinated? Again, a little bit of what Mr. Dong was talking about. There was an email that came home a couple weeks ago you can still turn that in and fill it out and turn it in. And when it asks, is your student vaccinated? Show us the vaccination card, and we'll put that in there. As Mr. Dong mentioned, you can email or call him and let him know. And we are asking for that vaccination status during the close contact notifications. Again, it is an optional thing, but when we're doing the close contacts, we really do need to know, because it could determine whether you need to go get tested or whether you need to immediately quarantine or not. So it is helpful in those particular situations. This was the one I was referring to. So there was a thing saying, when you talk about something being on the website, that's not really enough. The website's huge. It's hard to find things. It's hard to navigate. Can you please give us more detail? Totally understand that. And my apologies if I was being too vague. If I can, I'll include some screenshots, which I sort of did here for this next thing, because the best tip I can give you for searching the website is to use the search function. If you see the little, what do you call that, magnifying glass there, that you press on that and you can type in keywords, and it'll take you right to what you need to find. And so that's probably the easiest way, rather than sort of hunting and pecking through things unless you know exactly where something is. Again, I would also invite you to investigate. Click on the parent portal there. This is the parents right here. It'll give you all the things that are directly related to parents. Or you don't necessarily need the staff one, because that's more for staff, but students also have information there. But again, when you see the upper right hand corner of the website, you'll say key searches there. So that's a great place to try and find some of those things. If I mention, hey, find this thing, that would be the place to do it. But I will also try and include more screenshots and things like that. So thank you for that suggestion. I wanted to do a clarification on the numbers of people served at lunch or brunch, because I think maybe I didn't say it well enough and people misunderstood what I was saying. But last time in the last video, I mentioned that we serve between 500 to 800 students in about 15 minutes. When I say that number, that's the total number of kids that we are serving. At each brunch and or lunch, the numbers come back between 500 and 800, again, depending on the days. Fridays are lighter than Mondays, that kind of thing. We are not serving 2,400 students. Every kid is not coming through and getting a lunch or a brunch. Kids are bringing their own, they're going off campus. So the suggestion of this is like, you should do an A and B lunch schedule so that everybody can be fed, and we don't need an A and B lunch schedule, actually, because we are serving everybody that is coming up to the line to get service. It is taking 15 to 20 minutes to serve those 500 to 800 kids, leaving a whole 30 minutes of that lunch where nobody's really, or one or two kids are walking up in the line. So again, we're not running out of food. We're not running out of time. Brunch is tight. We got, serving 800 kids in 15 minutes, but we're not going to go to an A and B brunch schedule. That would really be difficult and would stretch out the day a very long way. But again, we're not serving the entire school. We're serving between 500 and 800 kids is what we're averaging so far. This was a statement which I'm going to refute here, but it was saying, why aren't masks enforced inside and outside of the classroom? We are. That's exactly what our mandate says. Inside the classroom, outside the classroom, except for when you're eating. So there is when they have to take their mask down to eat. Strict policy and few students sent home will create strong statement and clear expectations. We don't really have a lot of kids that are violating it in a way that they're not coming with masks, or if they forget their mask, they come rushing up saying, oh my gosh, I totally forgot my mask, or my mask broke. We give them masks. Kids put the mask on. Yeah, there are kids who will pull it down and maybe it goes below their nose. But honestly, we have a couple of quick, hand signals. We kind of tap our nose. Kids will pull their mask up, or if they don't have it on, I'll just, you do one of those and kids pop it right back up. So it really isn't an issue. Again, just like anything though, the masks are hard and people scratch their nose or, might need to take a drink of water. That's all okay. But we are enforcing it. We have gotten to a level with a couple of students where they are starting to see consequences. So I'm not here to say that it's 100% compliance. I'd say it's about 99.9% compliance, and the couple that aren't, we're really dealing with that. So I don't think we need to set a hard and strict discipline and start kicking kids out for it slipping below their nose. We want kids to be in classes, but we are going around and monitoring. We are out there. That's why we're out there in the morning for traffic. We're directing traffic and we're checking for masks. That's why we're out and about between classes, during brunch, during lunch, during tutorials, and we're checking for those kinds of things. Our district is being one of the more strict though, in terms of mask requirements. We are requiring masks at things like football games. Other schools aren't requiring that. Schools in our district are, other schools aren't. The leagues are saying you have to have, when you're indoor sports, in indoor events, you have to have a mask on. We're saying at any particular type of thing. So I was really happy. I was at the volleyball game on Thursday night. I was leaving campus. It was about 9:30 at night. There were 10 kids who had just gotten through the football game. They were sitting on the mound out there in the quad. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to go tell those kids to put their masks on. Every single one of them was wearing a mask. and it's 9:30 at night, and there's nobody there patrolling them other than me walking through the quad to get to my car. But they're following the rules. So I think everyone's doing a really, really good job. There was a statement about freshmen didn't get training on Schoology and are paying dearly for their mistakes. I got to be honest here. I don't understand what paying dearly for mistakes means. So I might, if you wrote this, maybe give me a little more clarification on what that means. One of the ways we are training kids is we didn't do like a 3-hour sit down and learn Schoology. Schoology is one of those things where if you start to sit down and you start to work through in classes, you're kind of getting training on the fly. And so a lot of training has been happening informally through the classes. There will be some other formal things that we do throughout the year, but if your kid needs some extra help, we definitely have support that we can do that. Counselors can help, the teachers can help, folks in the library can help. We also have people that are part of our Schoology team that can maybe create some other videos or trainings for students or for parents. So if there's a need out there, we'll definitely take a look at that. But again, I don't know how to answer the paying dearly part because I'm not sure what that means. So if that was you, please send me that back in and I'll try to answer it. There's a question or request to have pass-fail grades, as we've had with some of the pandemic stuff. It is not currently an option to do pass-fail. There was a longer response to this one about it would help reduce stress and that kind of thing. It was available during the pandemic for those kinds of reasons. And it was kind of some unfair grading situations in terms of this was a really hard situation. We made some jumps from, being in person to closing down to being remote to being hybrid. And so there was some allowances for pass fail. That's not in existence right now. So we're not allowed to do it. Because one of the reasons why when you do pass fail, it doesn't allow you to calculate a GPA, and GPA is used for a lot of things to get into colleges, to get scholarships, to even get grants for certain things and qualify for insurance. So getting lower rates of insurance, that is. So if we did only pass fail, we couldn't calculate a GPA. So that does put a student at a disadvantage. And the UCCSU systems, which is what most of the colleges go off of, actually require current grades, and that's going to be their current expectation. There are current exceptions to that because, like, if you were in school last year and you were able to choose a pass fail, right now for this year that's not available. That could change if the legislature votes again something differently, but it's not something that we're currently offering, and that is allowed at this point. So sorry about that one. There was some concerns and questions about driving, and I would agree that driving this year seems to be a mess during the morning and the evening, and a lot of it is stuff that we can't really control. A lot of it's happening out there on Homestead. We can't direct traffic on Homestead. That's not our duty. We can get in trouble. It's a liability issue for us. We can direct people on campus and doing those kinds of things, but we are relying on parents following rules and kids following rules. So really ask that you think about these things when you're coming to campus. So in the morning, please don't drop off students in the staff lot. We have a lot of construction trucks coming in and out, and it's a mess. So please do not go in there. It seems to be getting better in the morning. The afternoon, though, is getting to be pretty bad. Please do not drop off students on actual Homestead Road. I know things might be getting backed up, but that's illegal. It's dangerous. You can get tickets. It also blocks traffic, so please don't do that. Please do not do U-turns in the middle of Homestead Road. That is also illegal, dangerous, all those kinds of things. Again, we reiterate this one, but people still try and do it. People try to take a left turn out of the horseshoe. That is illegal. There's signs that are posted there. It also creates a backup for people getting out. It's better if you turn right and then take another left somewhere else to get back to where you're going. I know that might take you a little bit out of your way, but again, that's going to help us move traffic in. It's going to help you not get a ticket. Please don't block the bike lanes. Most of our kids are going into campus in other areas, but there are community members riding bikes, and you're actually at fault if you're in the bike lane and you're blocking them and you hit them. So please understand that, and please be careful of those green bike lanes. In the student lot, if you're dropping the kids off, please don't stop in the middle of the road there because you back up traffic. If you can move over, even when you're exiting, if you could move over a little bit so kids can kind of come in and get down that middle lane. And so it almost makes a second lane there. We might be able to put some cones up to help for that. But if you're blocking that, then kids get stuck in that line and then they can't get to class, even though they're sitting in the parking lot. So if we could help think about that, that would be great. In the afternoons, again, waiting in the horseshoe is definitely causing a lot of backups. You really don't need to sit there for 20, 30 minutes and get there extra early. It really is not necessary. Really, that's the main issue there. People are stopping and they're not leaving and they're blocking traffic, and it goes out onto Homestead. And again, we can't direct on Homestead. So please understand that that's it's better to come a few minutes later and when the traffic has gone through to pick up your kid. Because what happens is there starts to be an overflow. So people are now going into the staff lot and using that as an overflow. We had painted a bunch of, had some stripers in there painting parking spots, and people were driving through it and actually made a giant mess. So again, ask that you do not go into the staff lot. That's still off limit even for the afternoon. The student lot is backing up in the afternoon because people are having a hard time getting out and getting onto Homestead. It's nothing we're doing inside. It's all on the street. So again, maybe pick up your kid at a different time, look for some different locations to pick up. Use the Mary Street Bridge. If you park on the other side of the Mary Street Bridge, wait for your kid there, and they walk over the bridge, there's no traffic there. So really think about that. Think about some of these alternative ways too to get to school. Carpools, biking, walking, all of those are really good. And that would help alleviate some of that traffic. A real quick note about specific staff complaints. There've been a couple times where people have put things in here about Mrs. So-and-so is doing this or Mr. So-and-so didn't do that. I'm not going to put those into the here because I don't think it's appropriate that I share a personal complaint about a specific person, but please know that I am addressing those and I am talking with individuals. It would be better in those kind of situations if you just sent me a specific email, could give me more information, and then I could even communicate you and ask some questions like, well, what do you mean by this? And how, give me some examples. And, because sometimes you just say, this person's being mean. I don't know what that means. Or this person's, this one's not responding to emails. Well, what was the email? When was it? Where did you send it? Those kinds of things. So those would be better sending to me personally. But again, if you send it to me through the survey, I am dealing with it. I am talking with those individuals, but I'm just not putting it up here because I don't think that's an appropriate thing to do, to share those kind of things with everybody. So that's just me. I hope you understand that though. Down to our last slide, which is important dates that are coming up. So tomorrow is September 11th. It is the 20-year anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. I did create a video, sent it out to teachers and students. They have the option to look at it during tutorial today. We'll be sending it out to parents as well too. If you want to take a look at that and see what some of the kids see, maybe even talk about it with your kids. I also have some discussion questions that we'll send out with that as well too. So hopefully you get a chance to look that over and see what your kids saw today. Starting next week, the AP exam payment registration window opens. It's open for several weeks, but again, if your kid is taking the AP test, that's a big important time to start looking at that. On the 14th, there'll be our first advisory of the year. We're going to be doing advisories once a month instead of weekly this year. The first one is sort of an introduction to advisory, some icebreakers, that kind of thing, and then we'll start going deeper into some of the topics as we go along in the year. The 24th is the end of the first grading period. That's when the first progress report comes out. So it's kind of a nice marker 6 weeks in to kind of check in with your student, check in with teachers, see how things are going. Very important, picture makeup day is on October 6th. So those kids who didn't get a chance to get their ID cards or get a picture for the yearbook, that's a great day to go get your pictures made up and those things, so you have those resources. And then finally, again, homecoming week is the October 11th. So we're really looking forward to that particular time, because that's a lot of fun. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Dong, for being our guest star. Thank you for getting through here. I hope this video was a little bit shorter. But again, have a great weekend and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot.